On a quiet autumn day, as the golden rays of the sun pierced through the crowns of the trees in the Tennistam forest, a small reindeer named Eve roamed near the rushing waters of the Eldon River. Her fragile body trembled as she searched for her mother, and the big amber eyes were full of anxiety. Her tiny hooves drowned in the soft soil, and faint callouts were carried away by a fresh breeze of leaves rustling along the river bank. Eva was too far away from the herd. Her curiosity took her to unfamiliar places. The river, which had flowed after the recent rains, was humming with such force that it was muffled by its gentle calls. Approaching the edge of the water, she slipped on a covered with moss stone and in an instant was in cold, cloudy water. The current caught her as she drifted away from the shore. She was frantic, her little legs unable to resist the whirl. Her eyes were wide open, and a cry for help came out of her mouth, a piercing sound, echoing through the wind and waves. The water swallowed her, but then she floated up as if clinging to the last hope. The mothers were nowhere to be seen, only threatening waves surrounded her from all sides. The panic made her beat with hooves on the dirty water, squeezing her small body. The tummy filled with water, ears trembling with cold and fear. Each breath gave with difficulty. She choked in this indescribable horror. Almost exhausted, Eva still tried to call for help the last time. At this moment, a huge wave covered it, turning the body and bringing to the branch of the fallen tree. But there was no one around, and it seemed that the young would drown forever. Meanwhile, on the back road along the river, drove his old pickup Egor Volkov with his faithful dog called Thunder. Egor, a man of 30 with good eyes, enjoyed a quiet ride, and Thunder, a crumpled Labrador, stuck his head out the window catching the wind. Suddenly, Egor caught a faint but desperate cry from the water. He slammed the brakes, frowned and looked around trying to figure out where the sound came from. The Thunder raised his head, his ears were alert, and he growled quietly as if he felt something was wrong too. Egor jumped out of the car and ran to the shore, where the water was cloudy and turbulent. "Hey, is there someone here?" he shouted, but answered only roaring river. The thunder suddenly sounded loud and without hesitation, threw himself forward. Egor, following the dog, noticed in the middle of the stream a small creature roaming in the water. "My God, it's a little reindeer!" he exclaimed. His heart was burning with excitement. Without wasting a second, he followed the tiny figure struggling with the current. Thunder, not hesitating, jumped into the murky water and swam straight to the reindeer. He paddled powerfully, the water splashed down the sides, and his eyes were full of determination. Eva still struggled desperately, not noticing that the rescue was near. Thunder swam up to her and, carefully stretching his neck out, grabbed her by the collar, trying not to hurt her. The willow shuddered, her legs burned. She thought it was a predator, but then she felt warm and safe, without claws and fangs. The Thunder turned and began to swim against the current. Each movement was sure and precise. He held Eva's head above water, not letting her choke. Egor waited on the shore, kneeling down, ready to receive both. When they approached, Thunder came closer, only a few meters from the land. Egor quickly picked up the deer from Thunder's mouth and carefully placed it on the damp grass. Eve trembled, water trickling from her ears and neck. Egor took off his jacket and wrapped it around a small, cold body. The Thunder came ashore, breathing hard. His tongue was hanging, but his eyes were watching the deer. "It's all right, baby. We got there in time," whispered Egor, calming Eva. He took it to the back of a pickup, pulled out an old towel from the trunk, and began carefully wiping it, warming it. Thunder sat in the front seat, turning his head from time to time to make sure that his new girlfriend was all right. Eva slowly calmed down, her breath leveled when she was heated. Egor got the car and drove home, deciding that he would take care of the reindeer. His small wooden house stood on a hill surrounded by meadows and forest. In the living room, by a rattling fireplace, Egor laid down a warm blanket so that Eva could rest. Thunder lay next to her, keeping his eyes on her, as if guarding. Egor took out a bottle and gave Eva warm milk, gently stroking her forehead. The young deer looked at him, and with every touch more confidence appeared in her eyes. The next day, Eva was able to get up and made a few uncertain steps around the yard. Egor called her Ewa because of her grace, which resembled the branches of the willow that were leaning over the river. Eve began to follow the Thunder around the yard, exploring the world with curiosity. The Thunder patiently taught her to smell the grass, dig the earth, and listen to the birds sing. Every morning, Egor took them for a walk to the nearby meadow where the locals watched with smiles as Thunder and Eve run through the grass. Sometimes, when the evenings were chilly, Eva would curl up in a calla next to Egor, and he would cover her with a blanket. Trinity became an unusual, but remarkably harmonious family. Thunder no longer snarled at strangers and always stood by Eva like an older brother. Egor knew that their relationship was special, but he understood that one day he would have to let Eva go back into the forest. 3 weeks later, Egor decided it was time to help Eva find her mother. He studied the map of the Elden River, noting places where reindeer might live. On a clear morning, he put Eve and Thunder in the pickup truck and went to the river. Eva was calm, but her ears moved constantly, as if she were listening to something familiar. When they reached the shore, Egor shut off the engine and opened the door so that Eva could get out. Thunder ran forward, sniffing the ground, and Egor carefully examined the forest for traces. Suddenly, from afar, on the edge, appeared an adult deer. She stood still, her big eyes full of expectation. Eva paused for a moment, and then, stretching out, rushed to her. Egor held his breath, and Thunder sat next to him, carefully watching every step of Eve. The young reindeer ran up, stopped for a second, and then pressed his head against his mother's body. The deer gently licked Eva, trembling slightly, as though convinced it was her baby. Egor watched the reunion, and tears of joy shone in his eyes. The Thunder shrieked as if to say goodbye. Egor smiled and nodded. "We did everything right, Thunder." Eva turned around, looking at Egor and Thunder for the last time. In her eyes there was gratitude and light sadness. Egor waved to her. "Go, live your wild life." The deer led Eve into the forest, and their silhouettes gradually disappeared among the thick trees. Egor and Thunder returned to the pickup. The sun lit up a calm river, and the new chapter of their lives ended, full of kindness, hope, and friendship that knows no boundaries. Egor stroked Thunder on the head. "We did a good thing, old man." They got in the car and drove home, knowing that this story will stay with them forever. Friends, thank you for taking the time to tell this story. Don't forget to put a like and sign up to support us and learn more such soulful stories.